Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the first Future of Schools conference hosted by Ashoka University. The theme of the conference is Overcoming the COVID-19 Challenge and Beyond, an appropriate theme for the scenario today because the COVID-19 pandemic has left no aspect of human life untouched, and schools have definitely been among the most affected organizations. Not only were they the first to close down, they are likely to be the last to open up. And in between those 2 points in time, they have to make decisions about evaluations, examinations, the health and safety of students, answering questions from parents, students, teachers, and authorities, dealing with many other uncertainties, and so on. That is where the idea of this conference came from. This is the largest ever virtual conference of the Indian school system. And we are very proud to say that we have at this point 18,000 plus registrations, and we hope to have more than 10,000 people online in the next few minutes. In this context, I would like to thank our partners, Harvard Business School, India Research Center, College Board, TISE, Exceed, Center, the IC3 movement, and Khan Academy for helping us and spreading the message far and wide. The conference will run on 2 tracks. Track 1 is called Reimagining Education, in which schools will discuss how to resolve the immediate challenges they're facing. And track 2 is called Adaptive Leadership, which will talk about how to emerge from this crisis with lessons which will help to build the school of the future. We are very fortunate to have many eminent speakers delivering keynote addresses, and it is fitting that the first keynote be delivered by someone who oversees school education in India today. The talk is titled COVID-19, Responses and Preparation by the School Education System. And it will be delivered by Ms. Anita Karwal, who is Secretary in the Department of School Education and Literacy, Ministry of Human Resource Development. Ms. Karwal is a Gujarat cadre officer of the 1988 batch IAS. And prior to coming to this role, she was the chairperson of the Central Board of Secondary Education, or CBSE. Welcome, ma'am, to the conference. Thank you for making the time in what must be a very busy schedule.
Thank you, Imran. A very good afternoon to all of you. I was noticing there are almost 2,000 people who have joined this conference today, virtual conference. Welcome to all of you, and I hope all of you are keeping safe. What I'm going to present to you today is the response of the School Education Ministry, the Government of India. And I'm also going to intersperse it with the responses of certain state governments because we are constantly in touch with them. So first of all, when this pandemic came in March, at that time I, as most of you know, was chairperson of the Central Board of Secondary Education, conducting the 10th and 12th board exams, and it just caught us in the middle of that. We were not able to conduct the complete exams. We had to close down schools, we had to close down exams. As of today, there are more than 24 crore children in the school education system of India, whether they are in schools affiliated to CBSE or they are in schools of the state governments or private schools in the states. 24 crore children have got affected by this. Now, what we decided when we started working on this area of our response, the first thing we thought of was mental well-being of the children. Now, for the purpose of mental well-being, we noticed that some state governments had been trying to get their teachers to do the counseling for the students. Some state governments were actually getting in touch with parents, etc. We have come out with an initiative which is to be launched possibly next week, which is called Manodarpan. I'll talk about it later on. And we hope that this initiative is going to help not only the students in the school system, but also the parents and the teachers. The second thing we wanted to focus on was the continuity of the effective learning process. Whether it is online or offline, the process had to continue. The third thing, of course, which is a very big thing these days about e-learning, but we needed to focus on the access to e-learning. You see, equity, technology without equity is something which will not lead to effective learning in all our children. The quality of digital education is something which, we had sort of postponed before the COVID happened. But once this happened, the pandemic came, and we realized that whatever we put up there in the digital education universe, it has to be of the highest quality, it has to be engaging, interactive, it has to be able to communicate with the stakeholder. The next thing, of course, is the teacher capacity building. Not only capacity building for undertaking online or digital education or utilizing content online for the purpose of education, but also we felt that we could not miss out on the continuity of teacher capacity building. We had started a program called Nishtha last year, as many of you would be aware, in which face-to-face teacher capacity building in 14 modules for elementary schools, 42 lakh teachers, we had initiated. But we had to again cut it short. We were able to reach only about 18 lakh teachers. So this is another aspect we are focusing on. And of course, the much speculated guidelines for reopening schools with safety and with health precautions. I'll come to each one of these one by one. With regard to Manodarpan, as I mentioned, what we have done is we have prepared the following. As you can see on the slides, there is a website which has a lot of material, audio, video, manuals, posters, frequently asked questions, etc., on various kinds of aspects of mental health and well-being. We have also, we are about to start a toll-free helpline for the country, in which students can simply call on that number and get immediately connected to a trained counselor at the other end of the phone, to which the students can talk about their difficulties. So this is something which we had experimented in CBSE, and we had been doing it for a long time, for the past 22 years, and we found the results so good that we decided to extend it to the whole country. So you will shortly, once we launch it, it will be available for all students of India. We have also prepared a national directory of counselors for the first time. It will come on the website as and when it is launched next week. And of course, the next step is preparing an interactive chat platform for students. This is in phase 2 of the Manodarpan launch. Coming to health and wellness further, this is something which we decided early on. You see, the midday meal program is not extended to students during the vacations. But looking at the pandemic and the fact of migration, the fact of employments getting unstable for the parents, we decided to extend the midday meal program even during vacations in the form of direct benefit transfer or in the form of dry rations, which are being supplied to the homes of children across India. Now, coming to continuing the learning effectively. Now here we needed to, as I said, focus on devices, on content creation, on calendars, on textbooks. Now here is the context. Let us just look at the numbers. There are 63 million children, 6.3 crore children just in the secondary and higher secondary in India. There are 6.4 crore children just in the middle school. And if you look at the primary, the lower primary part, then you have 12 crore children. Now, we are aware that even when schools and colleges do reopen, there will have to be maintenance of social distancing. There will have to be a lot of precautions to be taken. Therefore, the way learning happens in classrooms is going to change. And there is going to be a lot of adjustments which the teachers and the students will need to make. And this adjustment is something which we cannot guarantee it will happen in 2 days. It may take a little bit of more time for a few children and less time for the others. So this is the context in which we are functioning. Now, what we have done is we are now trying to realign various interventions, the whole learning process, the whole pedagogy that will happen in the classroom, the instructional load, the way the children will be called to school, what happens at the entry and the exit points of the schools, what are the roles of the teachers, the changed roles of the teachers, etc. So we are working on this. And the first thing that we did is we directed all the states and advised them to provide textbooks to the children at their homes right away. So some states did mention to us that printing is not allowed, transportation is not allowed. So we intervened on their behalf to the Ministry of Home Affairs and requested, and we got permission. And states have now been able to print their books, and almost all states have been able to either send it to the last child or are in the process of doing so. Now, this is how we started. So now, though we have various platforms and portals and Swayam Prabha TV and Swayam, etc., we decided to come out with an alternative academic calendar. So now this is a very special calendar. It is available on NCERT website. It looks something like this. This is a calendar which has been made for the first 4 weeks for classes 1 to 12. It is mapped with the learning outcomes, and it has only suggestive activities and themes which have been picked up. E-resources have been linked there, and even if you do not have access to e-resources, there is a guide as to how you can learn this particular topic with the help of resources available at home. So for younger children, of course, parental guidance may be required, but the older children, it is actually activity-based learning. This has been developed in 3 languages. Now 4 weeks have been developed. We are in the process of developing for the next 8 weeks, and we'll possibly develop it for the whole year and make it available for the whole of India in these 3 languages. And states are, of course, free to translate them. Now, coming to the infrastructure for e-learning. So many of you may be aware, and I think Diksha is going to be spoken about today, Diksha, or the digital infrastructure for knowledge sharing. This is an infrastructure on which we started work more than two and a half years back. And as of today, 29 states and UTs have onboarded onto Diksha. So they have their own verticals on Diksha for grades 1 to 12. And the most important activity that we have done on Diksha is that we have energized textbooks. What do we mean by energized textbooks? I'll just show you. Energized textbooks is nothing but a QR code which is put in every chapter of the textbook and every hard spot of the textbook. And that QR code, when you scan it, it comes alive with videos or audios or animations or tests or assessment practices, etc., which the child requires to understand the given topic. As of today, there are more than 90,000 pieces of content in 15 languages for grades 1 to 12 on Diksha, and 1,900 textbooks of NCERT as well as states have become energized as of today. And Diksha has been seeing a lot of page hits. It has reached 90 crore page hits now, and more than, I think, almost 20 crore scans of the QR codes, etc. And it also became the #1 free educational app in the Android store. In Diksha, what we did is we started something called Vidyadan. So there is an interface on Diksha in which we have invited the country, the organizations in the country, individuals, educationists, people such as yourself, experts in the area of online content, to donate, contribute content to Diksha in slotted boxes, where we have, for example, CBSE has asked for content for grades 1 to 12 in a particular language, particular kind of content. It is all slotted there. All that the people have to do is drop it in that box, and then the content goes to the curator. The curator looks at it and decides whether we want to accept it or not. And then it gets tagged onto the Diksha platform. So this also, I'm very happy to tell you, when CBSE opened Vidyadan for 20 days, more than 2,100 content contributors, organizations, and individuals have nominated themselves for this purpose. Now UP and Assam have opened their Vidyadan. Slowly the states are opening their Vidyadan. So Diksha, as you can see here, these are some newspaper reports. Many of the states are now functioning through Diksha because it's very easy for them. Actually, their books are QR coded. Whatever content they want to show to the child, in the textbook, in the QR code, in the backup, they can change the content, and the child can see a new content every day. In fact, I'm very glad to tell you that states like Madhya Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh have actually started teacher training on Diksha, in which they just send a QR code to the teacher on the phone, and the teacher just opens the QR code and starts the training. So this is all based on Diksha. So states like Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, Assam, Odisha, they are all focusing on e-content based on Diksha. Madhya Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, as you can see, all this is newspaper cuttings from recent times. Now, we also have another mode of education, digital education, which is the Swayam Prabha TV channels. We have 4 TV channels as of now, but now another 8 have been earmarked looking to this pandemic, and we don't know where it is going. So now, within 6 to 8 months, we will be able to come out with one class, one channel, and we hope to come out with very good content on that, at least in 2 languages from the center, and then 4 to 5 hours per day will be given to various states to do it in their languages. We are also doing MOOCs courses. So there are several students in the country who are registered on the Open School platform in the NIOS. For them, there is this special content which has been created for grades for secondary and higher secondary, and this is in the MOOCs. These are MOOCs courses. With on air, of course, there is radio, and almost 1 to 2 hours of radio every state has activated, and they are particularly using it for the younger group, for classes 1 to 5, because they are, many of them are actually auditory learners, and it helps because, especially if you make the programs very interesting. We are also about to foray into community radios. We are looking at how we will go into this for secondary and higher secondary. And CBSE has done a very interesting experiment, which I have been told by many people has become very useful for the specially abled children. And this is a podcast called Shiksha Vani. And this is for classes 9 to 12. So you can simply go to the Android Play Store, download this free podcast, and start listening to your topics through podcast. So there are expert teachers who simply in 10 to 12 minutes are explaining very complex topics in different subjects. For the differently abled, we are especially wanting to focus. So there is some content which we have been able to prepare through DAISY and also in sign language. We are now structuring the content and creating the taxonomy for it, and we hope to bring it onto the correct platforms very soon. E-textbooks are there, which are available on NCERT in EPUB mode, and more than 370 textbooks are there. And it is very easy to go through these textbooks through the EPUB mode, and there are also flipped textbooks on this website. NROER, you're all aware now, there is, here it is written as 17,500. Now I believe it has crossed 18,500. So there is content in the form of videos, audios, but now we are trying to structure it. We are trying to put a taxonomy to it to make it more user-friendly. So all these stores that we have, now we are trying to basically make it very, very structured with a very good user experience for our students and teachers. Textbooks, I have all spoken to you, and I just wanted to mention that almost all states, barring 1 or 2, have energized textbooks now in India, in the state government schools. Now, this is what an energized textbook looks like. So this is Kannada textbook, and this is a mathematics class 5. This is a science textbook from UP. This is Gujarat mathematics class 6. This is Assam class 9. So you can see the QR code, which is there at the top. And this is what, it is placed at very strategic points for the child to be able to understand the topic. And I wanted to tell you that the content behind the QR code can be downloaded with very little internet for the whole chapter and even for the whole book. Within 8 to 10 minutes, it is possible to download the whole content into the phone and or on the device that the child is using. And then the child can continue to see the content offline. They don't have to frequently go onto the internet for this. Now, coaching is another thing which has been hit very badly by the pandemic. So the ministry has come out with, IIT PAL was already there, but it has been made much more extensive. A lot of new videos and have been added to this. And eAbhyas has started publishing one full test every day for the preparation for JEE and NEET. And this is based on the actual pattern of papers that is there for JEE and NEET. Now, for digital education, I'm not sure if you are aware, but about 2 weeks back, the finance minister of the country announced the PM eVidya program. So because we have such scattered resources, and also, the user experience in many of the resources is not good enough for the child or the teacher to want to actually go through several clicks to look at their resources. So we have decided to unify all our e-efforts under the PM eVidya program. And in this, as I mentioned, aside from Diksha, which is One Nation, One Digital platform, we have Swayamprabha, one channel per class. We have MOOCs, we have on-air, specially content for specially abled, and we have the online coaching, and all will have to flow seamlessly from one to the other. The idea of the unification is that if I can see a content on Diksha, I should be able to see it on Swayamprabha because I don't have internet and I don't have a device, but I can see the same content on Swayamprabha, bringing in equity, the much required equity in education, and particularly through digital education. So I spoke about this multimode and integrated access. We have also prepared, we realize cybersecurity is an area which would have to go hand in hand with all this, with children coming online so often. So CBSE has come out with a very good QR coded manual on cybersecurity. I urge you to go to their website and have a look at it. Developing digital classrooms. Now, as of now, every school, every state government, every board, they are having their own system of developing digital classrooms. To the state governments, of course, the government of India is providing a lot of funding for making digital classrooms. But the tool for the purpose of digital classrooms is something we are looking at, and probably the Ministry of Information and Technology is experimenting and piloting on the tool. We hope to be able to use it at a later date. The importance in e-content, of course, is of languages. So unless the child, we have the content in the language of the child, it is not a useful content. So this is something we are paying a lot of focus on, and we are hand-holding the states to prepare their own content in their own languages or to translate content already available on Diksha. The beauty of Diksha is the content prepared by one state can be tagged to the QR code of another state by simply changing the language. We are also trying to develop a framework for enhanced learning within the classroom and outside the classroom, because now there will be a lot of home schooling, for some time. And there is a possibility of blended schooling also, a bit at home and a bit at school. So we need to prepare a framework for that. We are also coming out with SOPs for online and digital education. There has been an upsurge in this and also an uproar on the way some schools are doing this. Some schools have simply replicated the timetable of the school, and the child is sitting in front of the device for 7 to 8 hours. And there is often this cry that there's only one device in the household and you can't give it for schooling. And we've had some unfortunate incidents also. So we are trying to come out with these guidelines very soon, but these will come out after the school safety guidelines come in. So the Safe School Operation Guidelines are actually ready. We are doing some consultation with the states, and there is some kind of a rumor going on that these guidelines are actually going to tell the date of school reopening. No, there is no such thing, I must clarify, because school reopening dates are entirely within the purview of the states, the state governments and the UTs. They have to decide depending on the local situation. The center does not intervene in this. We are only trying to prepare guidelines for sanitation and social distancing and how to do classroom transactions with all these guidelines. Similarly, I mentioned to you about the online and digital education. So this is all that I had to say. Of course, there's a lot of other things which are being done, but given the timelines that I was given, I thought, I'll briefly touch on some of the important things. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. I think given the limited time that you had, it was a very comprehensive picture of everything which is being done. And in fact, you answered many of the questions that people were putting up in the boxes even before you could address those aspects. Thank you very much for sparing time for us, ma'am. Looks like there is a lot of effort going into imparting education in this difficult time. Of course, the beginning of the presentation itself told us that there are difficulties that people are facing with technology and infrastructure. So let's hope that we all come out of this using all the things that you've described and education proceeds apace. For all the people who had questions, I think ma'am has answered a lot of them. And obviously, if we were to try and answer all those questions, ma'am may have to spend the whole day here, which I think is going to be difficult. So many of these topics are going to be discussed over the course of the conference. So I think we will now relieve you, ma'am, to go back to
Thank you so much,
the
Imran.
things that you had told us. Thank you very much for sparing time for us.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you all.